great turnout, actually. We managed to fill the room. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming here. I think it's a privilege. I'd like to thank also the organizers. It's a real privilege for me to be here on the stage today. They gave us the opportunity to do it, so we'll announce great things today. So we have some cool things to show you. But first I want to give you a brief history of what we've done in the past, because I assume some of you have no idea who we are. We've been in the business since 2014. We got funded, the company was funded in August 11th, 2014, so that makes us, what, 4 years old? And our goal has always been to deliver some interesting product and innovative products to the market of flight sim. Our first product was FSFX. Who in the room has it? I'm just curious to see. Wow, okay. That's a lot of people. Got to see that. So it was basically for the people who don't have it. It's a simple utility to change the rain and snow textures inside of the simulator. It's something quite revolutionary that no one really tackled, and the starship effects that people are most familiar with is gone with FSFX. Little did we know that this product would be as successful as it was. It was really a first attempt, and we literally had no idea what the community was of flight sim. So we're really happy to have opened up this unoccupied market of visual effects in the sim. So here's a quick visual of what FSFX does in the sim. So with the new rain effect and the snow effect. So on the left is the default one, on the right is what the snow and FSFX looks like. We've updated it a couple times over the years to update with new precipitation effects. We changed the texture, tuned it with the consumer feedback that we received. And now it's still one of our most popular products to date. Following that, just before Christmas of that year, 2014 year, we released 777 Immersion. And that's probably what people know us best for. It's our immersion packages. It's the first aircraft, it's the first product in a series of immersion pack that we've done that makes effects tailored to the aircraft at hand. Because every aircraft requires a certain level of customization and adaptation. So we built our immersion packs around that, and this was our first product. It brings the aircraft to life basically with some environmental effect like wind condensation and engine spray and much more. It's never been done on this scale before, and of course beautiful contrails that we've done. We followed up with the 320 after the 777, the series from Immersion. Then we went with the NGX from PMDG, the Learjet 35 from Flight Simware, and we followed then again with the Q400 from Majestic. Gonna catch up with me with beautiful propeller vortices behind the engines. That's what I mean by customization per aircraft. And then we went on with the 787 quality wings released earlier this week. So this is available now as well on our website. Very popular thing. That brings us to our biggest elephant in the room, ChasePlane. Who knows here what ChasePlane is? Ooh. Okay. Funny fact, we were at Flight SimCon earlier this year, and we figured we asked the same question, right? About 15% of the crowd knew what ChasePlane was. So I was expecting similar, but I'm glad to see that a lot of people are informative. So that's our biggest project so far. That's a project that took most of our time and resource into development. And I think that the results are really visible. People really like it. We seek feedback and we receive feedback, a lot of feedback. For some people who don't know, ChasePlane is a camera application. It lets you recall and save cameras into the simulator. You save cameras through the application and you can call them through the application, and you can move inside of the cockpit, outside, you can put a static camera in the tower, you can go through runways with an automated list of presets, or you can track the aircraft even from there. You can do a lot of stuff. And you can go back to the aircraft also. So we launched ChasePlane as an alpha nearly a year ago today. It was released as an early access or alpha, and the purpose was to seek feedback and comments from the community to improve the user experience as much as possible. It's often easier to tune the software while it's in development and add new features and stuff like that while you're in the middle of a development process, instead of waiting to the end of the development process. Then you get the feedback when you release it, and then you realize that you didn't build it properly to add new features. So the feedback that we received was absolutely incredible. People, day one, they really loved the application, even though it was in a very, very basic state. Here's a sample of the reviews that we got. I don't know if Matt is in the room. Maybe he's on the other room. He said, I absolutely love ChasePlane. It has completely replaced any camera add-on I had previously. We have the Sky Lounge, Mr. Edson, that's here in front of the crowd here. He said, at the Sky Lounge, cinematic sequences are at our core. ChasePlane allowed us to take it to the next level. Cinematic mode enabled even our newest hosts to create unique visuals. So that's great from them. Frugal, I'm happy to say that I'm converted, never going back, ChasePlane user in his video review. Now, a couple months ago, ChasePlane's gone into beta in April of 2017, and it's rapidly grown to be the go-to application when it comes to camera on the market. So we pushed it to beta in April, and we tried to settle our minds and actually stop adding features to it, because at some point you got to release it. That's the natural flow. When we announced it, before releasing the alpha last year, we said it would be available in early 2017. That's version 1. So I'm very bad at controlling my desires of adding new features to it. So we ended up actually here a year later, and it's still not available on V1. So it's still in beta, yeah. At this point, we're writing down the documentation. I think we've added a lot of features to ChasePlane, and most of them we waited to document them, because when you design a feature like this, you give it as an early access, you tune it, and you change a lot of stuff in the meantime. So we have a work in progress manual available on the forum, but we were like, yeah, we're just going to wait and write it down once and for all. Once and for all, with all the great things that it has. I don't want to release it. I don't want to promise a release date yet, but you know, it's coming soon. PM. So, nonetheless, it's still an alpha. But it's a great community, and a big community it is. Last August, the cloud database has reached 1 million camera preset. That's a huge amount, and that is for over 3,200 aircraft. So there's a wide variety of stuff in there, a lot of presets. A lot of those presets, by the way, have been made public through the community. That's built into ChasePlane. Basically, when you have a new aircraft, you get a new aircraft, you don't have cameras set up for them automatically. Well, you go into the community, and you can, with one click, just add the cameras that you want, or preview the cameras that you want. So it makes it very, very easy when you start off a flight with a new aircraft. You don't have to be bothered with creating new cameras. And that's all without even leaving the application. So today I want to drive you through some of the little known features of ChasePlane, all the things that people ask on the forum, ask us how they could do it, and then we're just, it's just a toggle there somewhere. So some of those features aren't documented yet. As I said, we're building the documentation, and most of those features will have a potential to change the way you use it and save a lot of time. For example, just saving camera preset. You'll simply move the camera where you want it to be, and then from the camera page, which it is right now, you can click the plus button at the top. We'll wait for it to finish moving, you know. You press the plus button, then you name your cameras, and you save it. The other way to do it is also going through the preset page. So you have your list of preset here. You click the plus button, you name it, and you save it. There's also a third way of doing it, through the instant view selector. Some of you are using it, some of you just don't know it exists. When you hold and click, if you hold and click the middle mouse button, it shows that menu, and you can save it from there and recall those cameras from there too. So, and soon you'll also be able to have control assignments. So you do Control S on your keyboard and you get a prompt and you save your cameras from there. So it's very, very useful. We also introduced a few shortcuts to make editing quick and easy. Basically, if you hold the Alt key and you click on the preset, it will bring you to the camera page. If it does, there you go. So if you do a lot of copy, paste, edit of the cameras, you can do it that way and modify your presets accordingly, very, very easily. And of course, we understand that's the kind of features that our users are going to use, because not everybody is going to use. Most people want their camera application to be as simple and as complex as possible at the same time, sort of contradicting, right? So we try to combine easiness with complexity, and we put everything that the camera can have as an option into a single list in the Advanced tab of the camera page. And in there you can do basically whatever you want with it. And that could be having a camera that's fixed to the aircraft, let's say the tail of the aircraft, or it could be also a free-floating camera. Let me go back here. Play. It's a slow computer you got. So you can have an aircraft that's literally watching the aircraft, but it's not attached to it, so the aircraft can freely move around and it's not fixed to it. It basically behaves to what you're used to with the spot view camera. And you can have an orbiting camera as well. Oh, there it is. Orbiting camera, that's the spot view camera that I was telling you about. It also has the motion effect, so you see the aircraft is moving gently across the screen. So it's basically a spot view on steroids, and you can fiddle with it to get exactly what you want with smooth control and all. You can have a static camera, which is a camera that's stick in the world without being attached to the aircraft, and it's tracking the aircraft. So when you pull up at the gauge, you can actually look at and keep the aircraft in frame without even touching the controls. And we've all been there before. That's one of the number one questions that we got on the forum is, I'm flying a Cub and the horizon is all whacked up. And you want to fly, but you want to still be aligned to the horizon. Some say like, yeah, we'll just use the spot view, but then it has some limitations. And this is an issue that you got regardless of the camera application that you use. The system that was shipped with FSX was very restricted in that you cannot do exactly what you want with it. So the spot view has a limitation that it has to stick the aircraft in the middle of the frame, and you cannot pan and move around. And the result is you get, yeah, that's coming back to what I said earlier, that's the camera again. So that's the spot view demo. There you go. So you're stuck with this. The aircraft is in the middle of the frame, and you can't move freely around. So in ChasePlane, we added a feature we call gimbal. And that's in the advanced page that you just saw previously. So if you go in cameras and advanced, you have a toggle for gimbal. So it takes it from there, makes it that way. So now the tail is like this, so the horizon is aligned to where it should be, the horizon. For some of you it might not be a big deal, but it's actually fun to fly in storms. And fly in storm, and you can actually look ahead and follow the aircraft, and it's really smooth. It basically chases the aircraft. You can enable the gimbal inside of the cockpit as well, give you some crazy effects. That's all automated with the gimbal. There's no control being touched in there. So that's for the, if you want to have fun barrel rolling and stuff like that. So before you know it, with all those options, you end up with a paintbrush in your hand. It embeds a lot of artistic control, so you can do exactly what you want. Some of you are very familiar with the cinematic mode. The testimonial from Edson talked about it earlier. Cinematic mode is basically a feature that we introduced with ChasePlane, the first ever version that we released, where if you do a very long flight, let's say you fly for 13 hours, and you don't want to be stuck in the cockpit forever, by default, and then you can change that after the fact as well. If you don't touch your screen, if you don't touch your mouse, don't touch anything in your screen, it's going to go into cinematic mode automatically. So it changes the camera angles around your aircraft automatically. I don't with a few seconds. There's a lot of settings in there that you can have, so you can tune the zoom out set, how long does it take before the view change, how smooth it is. There's all sorts of options for this. Speed, duration, zoom, yeah, that's it. And what if I told you that cinematic mode can be even more cinematic? And you know, we're gonna add balloons to it and maybe some candies. Right? Some of you will notice in P3D you have HDR setting, so you can tune how bright your screen is, and if you have bloom or saturation, and you can play around with this. But the only issue it has is that you have to go in the menu to tune it, so it makes it very, very hard to compare what was there before, what was there after. And of course, the lighting conditions do change between weather. So if it's rainy, it's going to be a bit darker. If it's sunny, it's going to be much brighter. And you don't want to go into the menu every single time to change that. So in ChasePlane, what we've done, basically, if you go into the settings in the camera page, we have those same sliders, but you can tune it live in the sim and see what the results are. Even crazier than that, you can have a setting for the inside of the aircraft, and you can have a setting for the outside of the aircraft, and adjust accordingly. So let's say you fly an aircraft that has sort of a tinted window when you're inside. You can adjust according to that, but then when you go outside, it would be way too bright and blown out. Well, now it's fixed. You can have it custom. It also works with the cinematic mode, which is great, because you can have normal views when you fly the aircraft, but then you go into cinematic mode and you just go crazy with the cinematic and weird old stuff, black and white and all. You mix that with like Matt Davies' PTA profiles and all, and you have a paintbrush in your hand. It's absolutely magical. Because you know, brightness changes a lot. You can assign control assignments too, so you have a plus and minus button to adjust it live on the spot, and you see the results directly in the sim, so, without even touching the interface. So that makes a roundup of what ChasePlane does and some of the hidden features and frequent questions that you got. And we're going to have a full series of tutorial in addition to a user manual for you guys to play around with and learn about. But now I like to turn the stage to somebody else, right? We've been in business for 4 years now, and the thing that we've learned during those 4 years is to surround ourselves with like-minded people. And today, I have the opportunity to lead someone to the stage that has a very, very interesting project to show you. So help me introduce to the stage TFDI Design.
Good luck. Well, I'm Colin.
I'm Josh.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Kevin.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for inviting us here today. As he said, the show has been great so far, and it's an honor to be here.
It took a lot of effort to get out here, so seeing everyone here, it's been amazing. We've gone through many trials to basically get to this point, so we're happy to be here, and we appreciate everyone giving their attention to us for a couple of seconds.
Yes. Now, just so I'm aware, how many of you actually know our product or what we do?
Okay.
All right.
That makes me feel better.
That makes me feel way better.
Is it working? All right, cool.
All right.
So,
you're doing a good job.
Yeah, so for those of you who are not familiar, we make several applications. You may be familiar with the Smart Cars program. It's an A-Cars tracking program for virtual airlines. And then we make the TFDI Design 717, which you could probably explain that.
Well, I mean, that's about it. We started with a commercial airliner. It was our first submission into the commercial flight simulation world. And so far, it's been a pretty positive experience. So, lots to learn out of the gate, but I'm really happy with where it's gone so far. And we probably had more from the community side of everything.
Yeah, and the community feedback has been overwhelming, to say the least. And we heard you back at Flight SimCon in 2017. You asked for something specific that we, at the time, did not think was physically possible to do in the current generation of simulator. Well, I don't know how many months later, we found out it isn't. It isn't impossible. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right,
Let's do it.
Get ready. So, and we'd like to introduce.
We'll let it speak for itself, actually. Because
Is the sound working?
So that is an ESP. Actually that's in prepared before. And alright, so you guys like it, that's awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, very good.
Sweet. So yeah, so that's what we've been doing, and yeah, any questions? I don't really have much to say about that.
Well, I mean, if you guys would like to know a little bit more about actually how this came about, obviously for the longest time, you know, everybody's wanted to have proper rain effects, and even me flying, you fly into a storm, you lose the total immersion because it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, you look outside, okay, there's a cloud, but clouds every day. Part of the precipitation and flying into a storm is the visibility on the screen, the ambience hitting at the gate. When you're in a storm, you see everything hitting, it's ambience, but it's part of it for me anyway. Right? From the amount of requests that we've seen over the years, both for our product and for others, we figured it was worth time investing in. So, it was worth investing time in, let me try that properly. About mid-2016, we actually started looking into doing this, and we got 85% of the way there, only to find out that the technology in the sim itself couldn't handle it. It couldn't draw all of that fast, bringing the frame rate down a lot. So we waited, we benched the technology, prepared for, finally brought new stuff to the table that we could use. It's actually using the same framework as what our real light system uses now to refresh all those night lighting textures much faster. We built on that, and that's how we arrived at this.
And I'll answer the elephant in the room. We have done several beta tests, and the reports have come back that the performance impact is minimal, if any. So you won't be sitting here asking how much you're going to have to pay for a 1080 to use.
Performance impact is fairly good. Go ahead.
Yeah, the video showed that it demonstrated on Rule 717. Is it applicable to all B2B, B4 aircraft or just your product?
At the moment, the way it's done technically, it does require developer input. But one of the things that we're really looking forward to doing is working with other developers to make this available. I would like to see other mainline products do it, and I think our choices will be done in a way that it's accessible to them. It won't be cost prohibitive or extremely difficult to get. My personal goal is I'd like to see it in all of the mainline commercial aircraft out there right now.
Any other questions?
Affected by wind at all?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so you'll notice when you take off, you start off, the drips are coming down the screen, and you start to get up to speed slowly, and all of a sudden those drips that were going down start to make their way back up the screen, and then it's all fun from there.
Does it require a specific weather engine, or is it?
Nope. It works the default parameter before.
It will actually read from Active Sky as well if you have that, to take a little better advantage of its specific stuff. If not, it will use whatever is in the sim by itself.
Yes.
Go for it.
Do the wipers actually wipe the rain
Yes.
off the windscreen?
Yeah, it will leave streaks behind and stuff like that. So when you turn the wipers on, it'll go through and clear through. So
And if, for example, you can park the wiper blade that's halfway through. When you do that, it will only clear what it actually passed through. It won't just blank the whole screen out.
No.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, when you obviously with most flights like you press like the wash button, like to wash the screen, that does work. That's something that could work with, and if you implement it through, or
That's something we haven't actually had. We developed it with the 717 by Frank. So our first round, this is obviously something still early on in its lifetime. That's something that we'd be open to doing. As we start to see it in more aircraft, I think we'll probably get requests for features in certain ones. Even right now, our windshield wipers are optional. They can be configured via an easy file. That's something we could add to aircraft that have it in the future, definitely.
Yes.
After it's been raining and it's drying out, is there going to be like watermarks left on the windshield?
The way it works at the moment, once it stops raining, the rain that was there will stay for a while, and over time they'll kind of evaporate and go away. We're open to feedback on that. If the people, if the community says that they would like to see more effects, then we can definitely do that. At the moment, it's minimal just for the sake of getting it out of the way when you turn it off, but we'll see what the response is and something we can look into. We also do want to look into doing ice and fog and similar effects.
Some compensations. Yep. Yes?
I think you just answered what I was going to say. You're going to do hail stones and stuff like that.
We're going to try and do our best to get as many different weather effects in there as we can. It's important. Yeah.
That's one of the benefits too if other developers get on board with this with us. If we update that and add ice and we make it a default setting, that will now propagate to all the other products in the community too, which is my goal. We can have a single platform for this and not have to keep reinventing the wheel over and over again.
Yes?
Can you change the amount of work that you have on like that?
Yes.
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 All right, I'll take it back.
All right. Do you have any more questions? Visit our booth.
Absolutely.
So that was quite a breakthrough, I think. A lot of us have been waiting for this since they removed it. 2006. And, V4.1 announced the return of the VC rain effect. But what they introduced was basically the same thing that we had in Flight Sim X back in the day. Same textures, same everything. And that, I think, really changes the game and pushes developers to move forward a bit with that technology, because it really is important. And it's great to see a friend of FSFX taking this project head on, because that's basically the most requested project that we've ever seen. Everybody asked for it. So it's great that they had the resources to do that. All right, so we talked about ChasePlane. No, actually, before that. Our efforts are very directed to ChasePlane lately, but we have not forgotten the effects and the immersion packs that we're doing. 717 is one of the example. We'll be doing an immersion pack. Well, we are, and we mostly have it sort of finished. 717 immersion, and we expect it to be available this winter. For all of you. This is a tremendous relationship that we have with PFDI, and this project really is a reflection of that relationship. Now, there have been a few requests in the past few months. We're very active on Facebook, some of you will know, and we're actually trying to stream. Is it streaming? Hi, Facebook. So we post every week, multiple times a week, pictures on our Facebook page, and if you don't follow us there, I strongly advise you to do so. People like to comment on that page and in the comments, and you don't search very long for a request. So we got, it's not even scrolling or anything. You got two just right there, and that's, adding to this one and this one. So we sort of have to do it, right? So yes, there is going to be a 747 immersion coming. But it's not going to be any immersion pack. The 747 requires a certain level of attention that the other don't necessarily have to go through. The 747 is a massive aircraft. It has 4 engines. The most thrust you're going to get out of an airplane, really, for an immersion pack. This is, by the way, the only preview that we're going to give you today. Don't get your hopes too high. But what we have to announce is basically the 747 immersion is going to be a brand new technology developed on P3D V4 SDK. So we're going to use everything that P3D has available to it, and to make sure that we get the best thing we could ever do. The effects now will work when the engines are off, which is not possible currently on most immersion pack that we have out right now due to limitations. We'll have a lot more effects. To give you an example, 777 Immersion has maybe 20 or 30% all the effects that we wanted to do on it. There's a lot of things, a lot of small details that we can put in there that we just cannot do because of the limitations that are on the system right now. And of course, the effects are going to be much more quality because we have more control over what the effects are doing. And so, as I said, 747 is a perfect contender because of the size and the complexity. After the rain effect, this was probably the most requested project that we had in a very long time. Number one question that people will ask me, why not FSX? Who is still on FSX here? I'm sorry for you guys, you won't get 747 Immersion. That brings me to something I wanted to talk to you about. 5 years ago, the flight simulation world looked very different. This guy was the only thing we had, really. FS 2004 was still around, but it was stalling quite rapidly towards the ground, which was a good thing for us developers. When we released FSFX 3 years ago, we only had 2 simulators to care about. Today we have 5 platforms, which all have their active users that are very dependent of their use of their platforms. And every sim requires some sort of level of adaptation on the consumer level and on the developers level too. And that slows down development and takes a lot of time and resources off of new projects and future development. So when we spend time working with backward compatibility, we're not experimenting with the new kids on the block and the new platform, the emerging platforms. And that's not even taking into consideration, Aerofly and all the platforms that we learn dead stake today, and all the other platforms that are emerging. It's a thriving, these days, it seems like every year we have 3-4 sims just popping, and people are having interest towards them. This is why, starting with 747 Immersion, we'll shift towards our focus towards the latest version of P3D, and we will start developing on emerging platforms as well. So we'll start looking at the SDKs and all, and start doing projects on there. So we are joining the list of growing developers that have stopped developing new projects for FSX. And this, I think, would be a great move forward to favor innovation for flight sim. To be clear, that doesn't mean that the products that are out there today will no longer work with FSX. Everything that supports FSX today will still continue to support FSX. But the new projects that we're doing, there's just too many limitations for what we want to do in FSX. So we're back to today's topic of interest, which is ChasePlane. ChasePlane does so many things today that it did not do a few months ago. We pushed updates sometimes multiple times a day, fixing bugs, and adding new features to it as well. And people seem to be very happy with those updates. We have multiple channels as well. If you don't want to have an update every single day, multiple times a day, you go to the stable channel. It's more quiet there. So we want to add features to it to make it the most versatile tool in your simulator inbox. Toolbox. And as I said earlier, I want to stop adding features to it, but it's really hard. But while we were developing it a long time ago, we added features to it, and then we ended up realizing that we made a few bad decisions in some of the initial design stages, leading to some atrocities like this, where the CPU usage is way too high for what it should be. CPU usage has been an issue for some users since day one. That's not by any means affecting every user. I think maybe 90% of our users are telling us that the performance is good with it, but we want to push that percentage even higher to satisfy as much people as possible. So we tried to optimize it already, but some of the decisions that we made just didn't make it possible back in the time. So this is why we took the time to, the decision to actually redesign most of the ChasePlane architecture, literally. Some of you will notice that in the past few months there have been very, very few updates to the ChasePlane platform. And that's mostly the reason why. We are already 1 month into the redesign process, and we already noticed massive performance increase. And that was required based on the feedback that we had, and we're pleased to actually do it. So basically, you're getting a V1 before a V2 version before V1. So we expect to ship that version in November, and we're trying real hard to do that. We need to stop adding features, guys. Not until today, though. So be on the lookout for version 0.4.x. That's going to be the new version as well. So while we were redesigning the thing, we told ourselves we might as well just hit on the nail on the biggest request that we've had on Facebook to date, and that is with this question. Why the need for an internet connection? So when we designed ChasePlane originally, the plan was to have the presets stored to a safe location. So basically, the clouds, you create a preset, it's uploaded to the cloud, and then they are downloaded every time that you launch the application. So that if your old computer goes boom, and your shiny new one arrives, the presets are downloaded and you don't even have to worry about it. It's all exactly how you left it. All the presets, all the settings, it's all in there. But the way we designed it, it required an internet connection. It was also a safety for us. Because piracy, listen, we're not going to lie, piracy is a real problem in this community. And we had to put some position in place to save the product, what we wanted to do with it, and for the community at the end. But as soon as we released it, it sparked a thread with like 120 replies, and look at the amount of views. A lot of people complaining about this, and we're listening. We're absolutely listening. So today we're announcing that ChasePlane is basically going to sign its independence declaration. So presets and preferences will be stored locally and remain accessible even if the connection drops out. So that's a big thumbs up for you guys won. So you'll be able to use ChasePlane on a plane, a LAN party, an event like today where the connection is limited. It required a lot of changes, but it had to be done. So while we were designing, we might as well do that. That's also going to be available v0.4 in November. We're trying real hard with PM. Right? But that's not the end. We're just starting here. We have 10 minutes. We'll try to race through that. So with ChasePlane, we have a constant desire of remaining as transparent as possible with the application. If you're using the application and you forget it exists, mission accomplished. So we always try to find some other ways and efficient ways to trigger actions, call a camera, and without even thinking about it. So we created the instant view selector. So some people are using it. So it's a good way to change the views without accessing the user interface. You can do whatever you want through there. But we played around with something great recently. Some of you have seen this from the invitation that we sent via email. And this is to show some of the new features that we're calling hot corners. Basically, you bring your mouse in the corner of the screen and it triggers an action. It's either changing a view to a preset that you have, creating a new camera, going into cinematic mode. You can do a lot of things with it. It's a very, very simple thing, but it works great. So we have a new tab here in the aircraft section for hot corners, and you can also have the edges do something. And you can choose what you want. There's the latest presets that you have, color coded, and you can even throw a little dent in there. You go into a corner. We're not wasting our time here. We're actually developing the future stuff. And this is, fun fact, this was actually recorded with my HTC Vive that I have at home. I outputted the data, put it in the ChasePlane, like there's a sort of a database of camera positions, and just played it through. It was great. It's great to navigate the cockpit as well. So I have it set up right now where you can reach the FMS, the dashboard, you can go to the, and go back to the original location without clicking, without nothing. It's just moving the mouse to the edge of the screen and bringing it back. You guessed it. Trying real hard. But camera is a great camera. ChasePlane is a great camera tool, but it takes most of the checkbox, maybe not all yet. The checkboxes of what a camera application can do, but part of it is actually part of the experience is also watching the flight dynamic play out. So ChasePlane is already capable of doing a lot of things, but this is only a part of the pictures. We want it to be flexible and integrate all sorts of ideas that we want to put in it. Flying is already complicated, it's very demanding, because you have to manage the throttle, you have to manage the pitch of the aircraft, some of them are very complex. And controlling the camera is also an additional layer that you add on top of it. We added the cinematic mode to it. That's part of the freedom of flying the aircraft and actually watching it with some art attached to it. But today we're pushing the concept a bit further. Some of you will remember FS Recorder. A very popular tool, probably the most, fairly certain it is, the most popular recorder in flight sim. You can record your flight, play them back, and move the camera around, do whatever you want with it. It's a very, very flexible replay system. Sadly, the developer that's behind that has stopped developing it years ago. So now we're left with the default P3D system. It's good to do basic stuff, but as soon as you want to do something particular, it falls out pretty rapidly. So it's time to think outside of the box. I mean, ChasePlane has a lot of information in its possession. We already have we have enough control over the camera. We know what the aircraft is doing. So with great data, we can accomplish great things. We're adding a replay system to ChasePlane. Yeah. Big request that people had, and I think you're gonna like it. I really do. Already in its infancy, it's already more convenient and more user-friendly than what the default system has to offer. We have a visual timeline. You can see the speed of the aircraft. You can see the airspeed of the aircraft. You can get the takeoff positions. You get some events like the gear up, the flaps, all that stuff. You can change the playback speed, you can input numbers directly, you can scale it up, scale it down. A very powerful thing. So you can change, the most important feature I think is being able to slow it down. Because not only it's good to see why you lost consciousness like in the last but it's also useful for video makers. Because in order to get very good frame rates, you have to slow it down, record it, and speed it back up in the editing software afterwards. So it's a very, very convenient thing. You can, move the playhead wherever you want and actually watch the thing from there. You can also see why you blew up a tire when you landed last time. Having a visual reference is game-changing because you know where the landing is. You don't have to search for it. You just scroll through. That's the landing. I go before. Yeah, the flaps were down there. Yeah, let me start playing from there. And it works just brilliantly. Our system, of course, works very differently than the default system does. So that's what we're used to with the default system, right? It just works as it should. Some of the sceneries, like with Sode and Qual, sometimes will not show the scenery, but with our thing, our replay system, it works just as it should. We still have a long way to do on this project, and we're aware of it. What you see here is what you get. There's no hidden features yet. It's very bare bone. But we want to build it with the community, build it with the aircraft developers, so that the replays are smooth and as they should be, as they should look like. But that's the only tip of the iceberg. We're going to go farther with this, I think, than what we have with the camera system right now. So be ready for that. We're trying real hard. There's gonna be bugs, but we're trying real hard. So we talked today about the 747. We talked about major redesign in ChasePlane. We also talked about a Declaration of Independence. If you just join, you'll have to watch the VOD for that. We're recording, so if we're able, we're going to put it on YouTube if you want to watch it back right away. We talked about hot corners, ChasePlane, and a replay system, but we have two more things, and we have sometimes to do this. So the sixth thing we want to talk about is the freeware, because we all love freeware, don't we? It's no secret to many that I really love visual effects, and I'm sort of a nerd of visual effects, really. And when P3D released, it introduced to the stage this is something that's absolutely magical, is the dynamic lighting. But they left untouched the effect that would have benefited the most, and that is thunderstorms. Lightning and thunderstorms right now in the default system, they were made with FSX, so you have some sprites of light around the aircraft. By the way, the helicopter is right here. You don't see it. Some lights around here. But, the buildings are still dark, so it's a bit crap. This seems like an achievable mission. So we fixed it in an add-on that we're going to call Make Thunderstorms Great Again. And it's freeware. Just so you see. So in this video, you'll actually see the lightning is actually attached to the cloud instead of being attached to the aircraft. So they might be less frequent, but you actually see the light. See? So what we want to do with it is, later this month, we have a freebie page on our website. We're going to throw that in there. This is a simple effects file. You drop them into your effects folder, and you're done. Doing approach with this is absolutely amazing. Last thing, something we've never done before. People keep asking. We're doing a sale. Finally. ChasePlane is dropping permanently to $9. Sorry?
You said ChasePlane.
Precipitate FX. Thanks for saving my ass on this one. Precipitate FX, not ChasePlane. But by the way, ChasePlane is remaining at the $39 mark, including all the features that you saw. So until V1, we're probably going to price it up in V1, but as long as we're still in beta, the price will remain the same. But the discount, coming back to the discount, 30% off from today to the 31st at the last minute of the day, be clear. You enter the promo code Cosford17 and you get 30% off on all of those products, and that includes ChasePlane as well. So I know a lot of you just wanted to get ChasePlane, but you felt like it was too expensive for your wallet. We have a 30% discount for you guys. So that's a wrap. But if you guys have questions, we still have 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, you could.
So I see a hand here.
The features you got on 747, are you going to roll back those features?
Sorry, can you start louder?
Yeah, sorry. The features you put into the 747.
Yeah.
Are you going to roll those back into the aircraft that are available before the 777? Are you going to take those features and roll back updations as they are?
So that is to be determined, because each aircraft has some complexities to it, and we want to balance releasing new products, new immersion packs, and giving new features to updating old products with new features. So that is to be determined. Some products might have new features like this and a total overhaul. Some maybe not. Here.
Yeah, the Airbus A320, which manufacturer is that?
That's the Airbus series.
Sorry.
I'm tired. Jet lag. Yeah, it's the Aerosoft. Flight Sim Labs. Well, I know that's going to be the next question, right? Flight Sim Labs is a very interesting one as well, and we probably will place it right after the 747. So that's one that's going to be coming as well.
What simulators will the freewheel going to be for?
That's for V3D for the lighting thing?
Yeah.
Freeware? That's going to be for V4 only because it's the only one with the dynamic lighting.
With ChasePlane, you think about charging from beta to V1, or if we have it, do we have to pay?
So the price will go up when V1 releases, but if you already own it, you don't have to pay anything extra. So you paid the $39, you got the product V1 and updates right up to V2. Before V2 is not included. Yes?
Will ChasePlane work on other platforms as well?
So that's another question, that's an interesting one. ChasePlane, we try with the rebuild that we've done there, we try to make it as open as possible to other platforms. But the systems are so different across platform. It's not like an aircraft or an airport that you can adapt to 3D easily, relatively speaking, to transition to another platform. ChasePlane is touching the camera core of the platform, so it's really hard. But we want to push it to X-Plane at some point, but that might be as a V2. Might
be. In version 3.4, can I then port it across to version 4 when I buy that version?
ChasePlane?
Yeah,
You mean? ChasePlane works across all the platforms from FSFX Steam Edition, V3D, V2, V3, and V4. You install it once, it detects the sim that's running, and it works outside of the box. So if you upgrade, let's say you fly FSX with a 737 from PMDG, you install the PMDG 737 on V3D, V4, all the presets are going to follow as well. That's all automatic.
A lot of people are asking why not add the rain effects into the immersion pack.
I don't think that is going to happen, but we're going to talk. We'll see. That's an interesting one, actually, because it would fit into an immersion pack. But again, it requires the developer's input, the aircraft developer's input. That's not something we can do on our own, because if we had access to the code, you wouldn't be here like at the stage that we are. We would be much further. Other question, yeah.
If I were to buy the 787 Immersion now, which is only out for FSX,
yeah,
will the
yes,
license transfer to P3D?
Free.
Cool, thank you.
I knew where you were going with that. All right, any other questions? I think that's going to be wrapped for today. Another one?
It's not actually a question, but I'd just like to say on behalf of whoever in this auditorium, thank you so much for the effort.
We've started developing this a year before releasing it in November, so that was 2015. We've dedicated most of our lives, because we're many people on the team, to this project, and it turned out to be absolutely great, and we worked very, very long hours. I'm so glad that people are satisfied using it, and we're going to continue working on it because it's an endless project for us, so beta. Thank you everyone for coming, and have a great Flight Sim show.